Hey up lads, it's Scrapine Steve, and welcome to my Reyhan Last of the Abzan and Ishai Ojitai Dragon Speaker Commander deck tech. It's been a while, I have to say that much. And, well, this deck might be recognisable for people who've followed my channel at all, if that's anyone, because this used to be my Anafenza the Foremost deck, but then I decided to add blue because Simic is too good. And also Anafenza, not a great +1/+1 counter commander. She's a good card, but for different reasons. And, well, I'm finding it to be much more consistent, much more powerful with these two as the commanders. Because, oh boy, having a way of stopping your +1/+1 counters from leaving the field in the command zone, that's really useful. And then just having a Forgotten Ancient in the command zone as well, that flies. I'm down with that. Yeah. So, this deck is great. I've improved it so much since the last time I've showed it on camera, and I'm going to go through that now. So, first off, we have the commanders. As I said, Reyhan Last of the Abzan enters with 3 +1/+1 counters. It's a 0/0 for 1 black-green. Legendary creature human warrior, and with partner, and whenever a creature you control dies or is put into the command zone, if it had 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may put that many +1/+1 counters on target creature. That can get ridiculous in this deck, considering how many +1/+1 counters you can get on any one creature, and how there's +1/+1 counter doublers, so when a creature dies you get double the amount, and it can get insane. I'd say personally that Reyhan is far more valuable of the two commanders, but Ishai gave me white and blue, so I'm not going to complain. And now Ishai. Ishai is strong as balls. Because whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ishai Ojitai Dragon Speaker. And she is a legendary creature bird monk with partner and flying, 1/1 for 2 white-blue. So she starts off small, doesn't stay that way. Very much doesn't stay that way. She turns into a big boy, which, when combined with Reyhan, if she ever dies, you can just chuck them all onto Reyhan and have a wonderful adventure with a very chunky Abzan. So, these two partner very well together, and, well, they work very well in tandem with the deck, especially as Ishai is pretty much an effect that I've got like 5 of, and it never hurts to have. So, I'm down with it. So, first part of the strategy I'm going to talk about is the +1/+1 counter spreaders. Because, well, in order to have a +1/+1 counter deck that functions, you need to be able to put +1/+1 counters on your creatures. And so, first off, I am playing Simic Ascendancy. Simic Ascendancy is great because it's a win con that also fuels its own win con, and it's only 2 mana. So, yeah, 20 or more growth counters on this thing. You've got proliferators in this deck, so you don't even have to rely on just +1/+1 counters. But you're getting so many of the fuckers that it's pretty simple to do anyway. So, that's nice. And yeah, you can put +1/+1 counter on target creature you control for 1 blue-green, which is genuinely not that bad of a rate, considering what some cards are. So, Simic Ascendancy, great. It's always fun when you can pull it off as well, though that doesn't usually happen in my playgroup. Then we have Hadana's Climb and Merfolk Skydiver. So, Skydiver might not seem like a very good card for Commander, but honestly, she is. Because she's a flying 1/1 for blue and green, which, decent. And then she can just chuck a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control. Doesn't have to be her. Can be her, which it can always be good. A 2/2 flyer for 2 is never a bad thing, that proliferates for 5 mana as well. So, Skydiver is surprisingly invaluable. And then you've got Hadana's Climb. At the beginning of the combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control. Then if that creature has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, transform it. And you get to transform this oh so quickly most of the time, because you're just chucking it on Reyhan, because she enters with 3+1/+1 counters. Then it turns into Winged Temple of Araska. So it's a land that can tap for any colour of mana, which, considering this is a 4-colour deck, very nice. And also, you can make a target creature gain flying and +X/+X, where X is its power. So, similar to Xenagos God of Rebels, except more blue than red. So, what's not to love? Genuinely, this card is fucking amazing. Both of these cards are fucking amazing. Should probably flip that around. Right, next, for the big spreaders. So, there's a pair of cards which I think work hilariously in tandem, which spread +1/+1 counters when creatures enter the battlefield. Juniper Order Ranger and Cathar's Crusade. Like, Cathar's Crusade is a bomb in any deck, but in a deck where the +1/+1 counters matter, where they can give flying, first strike, death touch, unblockable, it is very fun. And then the Juniper Order Ranger, which itself gets fucking massive, but also spreads those sexy +1/+1 counters for those extra benefits that we're going to get onto later. So, really nice. Love these two. Can't really say much more other than they are ridiculously bloody strong. And then I have a pair of cat dads. Ajani, Valiant Protector, and Mentor of Heroes. So these guys, for the +1 for Mentor of Heroes and +2 for Valiant Protector, they just spread +1/+1 counters. This is kind of why I like Ajani so much. And then for both their either the second +1/+1 effect or the other +1 effect for Valiant Protector, Mentor of Heroes, it's look at the top 4 cards of your library, you may reveal an aura, creature, or planeswalker card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library. Card advantage, always lovely. And then Valiant Protector is reveal cards from the top of the library until you reveal a creature card, put that card into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it's like a Mentor of Heroes effect that doesn't hit auras or planeswalkers, but always hits a creature. So what's not to love? And like, these guys, they do have ults. They don't matter, because you're never going to get to them. Mentor of Heroes is gain 100 life is funny, but you're never going to pull it off, so there's no point in trying. But yeah, Ajani is a good cat dad. Right, on to the next part, which is making more +1/+1 counters when you gain +1/+1 counters. And what I mean by that is the likes of Corpsejack Menace, Peer Imaginative Rascal, Winding Constrictor, and Hardened Scales. These 4 cards are invaluable to the deck, as they can make seemingly innocuous cards terrifying. So, say for example, Merfolk Skydiver. It puts a +1/+1 counter on the field. Except, if you've got Hardened Scales out the turn before, puts 2 on the field. So you can essentially have a 3/3 flyer for 2, which is an immensely powerful rate. And then there's Winding Constrictor, and Peer Imaginative Rascal, and Corpsejack Menace. And you can stack the triggers in such a way that Corpsejack Menace doubles everything. So I've once had it on all 4 of these on the field before, and when it said gain a +1/+1 counter, I was gaining 8. These things are amazing, and like, they're always targeted down because people realise how strong they are, but honestly, it's worth it. And yes, I do play Toothy, for those wondering with Peer. We'll get to him later. Then we've got the similar ones to those, which is increasing +1/+1 counters, but not necessarily giving them or being big boys with them. So, Vorel of the Hulkblade kind of does what Corpsejack Menace does, except you can double any counter on target artifact, creature, or land, and he has to tap and cost mana too, so, which isn't the best, but he's still quite a strong option in my opinion, especially he can double the growth counters on Simic Ascendancy and stuff like that. So Vorel is a good card. And then Evolution Sage. Why would I not? I'm in a green deck that can play land ramp, and it proliferates. I personally see there as being no reason not to run Evolution Sage in any green deck that even remotely cares about counters, because it can make things so beefy. So, Evolution Sage is my friend. Right, now, onto the section I like to call Ishai's Buddies, because these are the chunky boys, or the things that make cards into chunky boys. These are your usual threats, because, well, you'll see in a moment. First off, Scoop Mob. He's not quite like the others, but he's still strong. Well, they, I guess, it's just bugs. But at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 5 or more lands, it's Commander. Put 4+1/+1 counters on Scoop Mob. Yeah, every upkeep. So, let's say turn 4 you get the 5 lands, it's probably going to be turn 3. So, Scoop Mob then becomes a 5/5, then a 9/9, then a 13/13, then a 17/17. It has to be left alone for that to happen, but let's not forget all the synergies in this deck. The Death Touch, the Flying, stuff like Corpse Jack Menace, which, when Corpse Jack Menace is out, this turns into essentially, yes, every turn, add 8 counters. Which can be ridiculous. And yeah, Scoop Mob is just a threat that people don't recognise, because it's a 1/1 for 1. Why would you kill the 1/1 for 1? It's fair magic. It's fair magic. And then onto, oh no, why did I put that there? That card doesn't work in the same way. Then onto the big friends of Ishai, Forgotten Ancient and Sunscorched Regent. So, Forgotten Ancient, whenever a player casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Forgotten Ancient. It's a 0/3 for 3 and a green, and it's an elemental. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may move any number of +1/+1 counters from Forgotten Ancient onto other creatures. That's a nice effect, because it means you can, well, oh, +1 over there, +1 over there, +1 over there. Now my whole field has all the bonuses. That's always lovely. And then there's Sunscorched Regent, who already has flying, is a 4/3 to begin with, and also you gain life whenever an opponent casts a spell. It's not a player like Forgotten Ancient, it's more like Ishai when it has to be an opponent cast a spell. Still bloody ridiculous. Both of these cards are fucking immense, and can never be left alone if you want anything to survive your board. Or you don't want to be murdered straight up by a big old flying 30/30. And then there's one which can be as strong as these guys, depending on whether you've got this out with these guys. Enduring Scale Lord. 4 and a green and a white, creature dragon with flying, 4/4. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are placed on another creature you control, you may put one on Enduring Scale Lord. He gets big. And, like, there's weird things that happen with Enduring Scale Lord. So, for example, if you've got a Corpse Jack Menace out, whilst you've got Enduring Scale Lord out, whenever anything gets a +1/+1 counter, that gets 2 counters, and then therefore Enduring Scale Lord doubles that amount of counters again, so it gets 4 counters, and can get out of hand hilariously quickly. So Scale Lord, he's not always the best in a situation, but when he's out and functioning, be scared. Because Scaly is a good boy. And then you've got the things that make other things into big boys. Master Biomancer and Hydra's Growth. So, Master Biomancer, each of the creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters equal to Master Biomancer's power, and it's a mutant in addition to its other types. So 2, blue-green, elf wizard, 2/4. Biomancer is amazing, especially when you've pumped him with +1/+1 counters like you're destined to do. I once had a Forgotten Ancient killed on the field whilst I had Reyhan and a Master Biomancer. So it became, I think it was a 14-16, and everything entered with 14+1+1 counters at that point. He's a scary boy. And then there's Hydra's Growth, which I haven't tested out yet, because I basically just got back from the Theros Beyond Death pre-release, and haven't played Magic since, so... But this thing looks strong, and like, it's slow, but also... Chuck it on a Forgotten Ancient. Oh, it's... This 10/10 has now become a 20/20. Because the way this usually works is... Oh, you keep doubling up the 1+1+1 counter that was put on it to start with, so 2, 4, 8, 16, etc. But when it's in a deck that spams out +1+1s like it's nobody's business, I'm excited to test this. I did take out Rishkar Pima Renegade for it, which might be a bad decision, but Rishkar wasn't doing enough for me. He's a good card, but I'll see how that works out. Rishkar might be coming back, I'm not sure. And now on to the bit that made me want to build the deck in the first place. The +1+1 counter rewards. And what I mean by that is the things that do shit and make cards with +1+1s stronger. So I'll start off with the ones from Khans of Tarkir, because they're the first ones I saw and I love them. So, Einok Bondkin, Abzan Falconer, Tuskguard Captain, Merrick Nightblade, and Rupert, Abzan Battle Priest. So, these all essentially have the same effect. They've all got Outlast for an amount of mana, you never use it. But also, each creature you control with a +1+1 counter has First Strike, Flying, Trample, Death Touch, Lifelink. This can create some terrifying creatures. So, for example, with Abzan Falconer and Tuskguard Captain, everything with a +1+1 has Flample. Or Tuskguard Captain and Merrick Nightblade. Everything has the oh-so-wonderful combination of Trample and Death Touch. I assign 1 damage to that creature so it dies, and then the rest goes to your face. That's always fun. And I mean, like, adding First Strike in there never hurts. Good old Rupert creates so much life, and it's just like, oh, I hit you with 2 of my things, I've now gained 30 life. He's a fun boy. And just, in general, these things, they are so strong. And people don't remove them very often, and I'm not quite sure why, to be honest. Because they're usually the ones creating the problems. But they're more focused on the big thing in their face. So, if you're playing a +1+1 counter deck, and you're in any of these colours, especially white, use them, use them, use them! Because they're so fucking good. And you've got more of these boys. And, in fact, this is the card that made me want to go into blue in the first place. Herald of Secret Streams. Same thing, except the creatures can't be blocked. I've got nothing really more to say for that. Ivory Tusk Fortress, which was like the big boy of that kind of, I wouldn't say cycle, but Abzan mess. And the 5/7 Elephant that costs 2 and Abzan. And it untaps each creature you control with a +1+1 counter on each other untap step. So, yeah. You've essentially given all your shit vigilance at this point. To be fair, it's even better than vigilance, because if something taps, say for example the Incubation Druid, that I'm going to show you later, that can untap and tap for another 3 mana. Or Jaya Sage, same difference. So, Ivory Tusk Fortress can lead to some funky shit. And then there is Experiment Courage. Has the activate abilities of all other creatures with a +1+1 counter on it. Pretty damn nice. And it can put a +1+1 counter on target creature. Also pretty damn nice. I can't say anything bad about Courage. Courage is good. It's a 4/6, and it's a tasty boy. If a bit slimy. And that's most of the +1+1 counter synergies. Well, the outright +1/+1 counter synergies over and done with, because now we're on to the standard of commander deck building. So I've got my ramp. First off, everybody's favourite good old green land ramp. Steve, Rampant Growth, Explosive Vegetation, Kadama's Reach, Cultivate, and the Sad Boy. It's green land ramp. I don't need to say any more than it's green land ramp. Like, this stuff is so strong that it's a problem that Wizards aren't sure how to solve because of the whole social contract thingy, where destroying lands is a bit shit. So, that goes to show that just all of these cards are definitely worth playing. Especially this good boy here, because he gets you a card, and he's very sad. Like me. Then you've got your rocks, Commander Sphere, because it taps for all colours essentially, and I need that, and it's Sol Ring. I don't need to say anything other than Sol Ring. And then onto the dorks. So as I was mentioning earlier, I play Incubation Druid and Gyre Sage. These guys can be potent, because Incubation Druid, he can tap for 1 mana of any type, of a type that any land you control can produce. Nice. But if he has a +1/+1 counter on him, he will. He produces 3. Very nice. So, well, and he's got Adapt, so he can put the +1/+1 counter on himself if he needs to. So, it's a thing that taps for 3 mana, why would I not play it? Same kind of thing for Gyre Sage. It's a 2 mana 1/2 with Evolve, so whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. That's not hard, Gyre Sage is a 1/2. And this deck makes big things, so this thing can often tap for like 6-7 mana at a time. I'm fine with it. I like it. It's a shame it's only green mana, but a chunky amount of green mana is never a bad thing. Especially as it can pay for generic and you can just tap your other coloured lands or this boy for other colours. So, that's decent. And then last ramp card, Growing Rites of Itlimoc. Searches, look at the top of the library, reveal a creature, put it into your hand. That's not what you want it for though. Beginning of your own step, if you control 4 or more creatures, transform it into Growing Rites of Itlimoc. You transform it into Itlimoc Cradle of the Sun. Better Gaia's Cradle. Better Gaia's Cradle. Better Gaia's Cradle. Yeah, you get the picture. I need to stop doing bits like that, they're fucking stupid. And now on to the next part of, you have to include this if you're building a commander deck. Card draw and like generic advantage shit. So one that works with the +1/+1 counters and can create more, spread some more +1/+1 counters itself. Zamak Mage. This turn each creature you control enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter. And remove a +1/+1 counter from a creature you control, draw a card. That second one is lovely. It's a shame it costs green and blue to do for both, but I mean it'd be a bit too generically powerful to do otherwise, so I'm fine with it. Zamak Mage is a lovely card, and I once had a friend play this deck and protect his Zamak Mage with his life for whatever reason. Probably because it was a 2020 by that point, but we don't need to get into that. Then Fathom Mage. Whenever a +1/+1 counter is put on Fathom Mage, draw a card and it's an Evolve, and it's a 1/1. I don't really need to say much about it, except generically good, especially with something like Cathar's Crusade out. So, anytime a creature enters the battlefield, draw a card, essentially. Ooh, I could put Guardian Projects in here. Different thoughts for different times. Then, the other half of the combo with the boy, Toothy. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Toothy, imagine your friend. When Toothy leads to the battlefield, draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. Again, just generically fucking great, and it works with +1/+1 counters as it fuels itself, so Toothy is a good boy. Then, Inspiring Call. Draw a card for each creature you control with +1/+1 counter on it, and those creatures gain Indestructible until end of turn. It's an instant that gives protection and draws cards. Yes. Also, Abzan Charm, possibly one of, if not the best charms out there, because it exiles a creature with power 3 or greater, draws 2 cards and lose 2 life, so Night's Whisper, or distribute 2+1/+1 counters among 1 or 2 creatures you control. Every mode on this card is good. Every time you draw this card, it's viable for something. Abzan Charm is never a bad card, and I fucking love it. The Greater Good. So this deck gets creatures that gets like 30 power. I want to build myself out because of the Greater Good in this deck. That is both shameful to say, and I still love that anecdote. I was scared to actually sacrifice my big creatures, because otherwise I'd have run out of shit. So, Greater Good. It's quite great and quite good. Shamanic Revelation. Draw a card for each creature you control, gain 4 life for each creature with power 4 or greater you control. This gains you a lot of life and quite a few cards, usually. It can be situational, because it's not good if you're behind, but people weirdly seem to ignore you when you're playing this deck, and I don't know why. At least they ignore me. So, And then it's not a +1/+1 counter deck without Prime Speaker Zagana. Enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counters where X is greatest power amongst creatures you control, and the draw cards equal to its power. The amount of times I've drawn like 20 off of Zagana. Love it. Very, very good. And then onto the section which is not quite advantage. Well, no, it's not quite card draw, but it is advantage. So, see the Unwritten. Reveal the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest into the graveyard, and then if you control power 4 or greater, 2 creature cards. It's just good. Cheating out 2 things. So, like, a Juniper Order Ranger and a Prime Speaker Zagana, for example. Or a Sunscorched Region, or... You get the picture. You kind of always want to do it for Ferocious, because I wouldn't say doing it for the 1 creature is worth it, but when you can get 2 out of it, that is a spicy deal. So, See the Unwritten is a very good card. And then, the 2 different sides of the same coin, Genesis Wave and Villainous Wealth. So, they basically do the same thing. You pay X and either green or Sultai, depending on which one it is, and then reveal top X cards of your library. You may put any number of permanent cards with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield, then put all cards revealed this way that weren't put into the battlefield into your graveyard. And then Villainous Wealth is pretty much the same thing, except it targets an opponent. Target opponent exiles top X cards of his or her library, cast any number of non-land cards with converted mana cost X or less from among them without paying their mana costs. So, Genesis Wave has to be permanent, but can also hit lands. Villainous Wealth can hit anything but lands. So, they're both worth playing, very much so. Especially if you can hit a Villainous Wealth for like 9 and just cast everything from an opponent's deck and screw them over with their own things. Always nice. Then, single target removal. Go through the motions of this bullshit. Oh good, I've not got as much of this. That's nice. So, Swords, Path to Exile, Retribution of the Ancients. I don't have to explain these two. They're exile effects for 1 white mana that are also instant and just generically amazing. However, Retribution of the Ancients. A lot of you might not know what this card does. It's another Abzan card from Karn's, so that kind of says it all. And So it's an enchantment for 1 black, and you can play 1 black and remove X +1/+1 counters from among creatures you control. Target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn. This thing is deceptively powerful, because your creatures are huge already, so losing a few +1/+1 counters doesn't hurt usually. And it especially helps when you can get rid of indestructible shit, because -X/-X, not X damage. This card is amazing, and I don't know why it doesn't see more play, if I'm honest. It's definitely worth it. Then, Despark. It's an exile for big things, only big things, but big things are usually what you want to remove. And for 2 mana, always a shout. And then I've got the artifact and enchantment removal. Croson Grip, because it's Croson Grip. Split second destroyer thing, always nice. Knight of Autumn, because it can destroy an artifact or enchantment, or it can chuck 2 +1/+1 counters on itself, make it a beefy 4/3, and it's a +1/+1 counter deck, so yes. And then the card, which I think is possibly one of the most underrated of the last year or so, Crush Contraband. I know it's 4 mana, but it can exile both an enchantment and an artifact, so worth it. Then a weird stop-off in my deck, in that it's the old commander and its friend, rest in peace. Because my playgroup is very graveyard heavy. People play my Duretti deck, which is very graveyard heavy. My Villas deck, same thing. I've got a friend who plays Lazav, etc, etc. So, graveyard hate, or creature graveyard hate for Anafenza, and just straight up no for Rest in Peace. Worth it. Also, I love the art on the Gideon Rest in Peace. That's basically the only reason I bought it. Well, that and the Path to Exile. So, this is very much my meta dependent, but they're always good cards anyway. And Anafenza plays with the +1/+1s, so can't go wrong. And the final thing before we get on to lands, which will be a quick thing. Oh shit, I've dropped a card. Board wipes. Windgrace's Judgment. Not exactly a board wipe, but I mean, it destroys target non-land permanent that each player controls, aside from you. So it can function as a board wipe, sort of. Get rid of the best thing everybody else has. Always nice. And you can choose as well, so if you've got one player you're working with, you don't have to destroy their shit. Or yours. Then, Austere Command. Possibly the best board wipe. In white, at least. So possibly the best board wipe. It can destroy all artifacts, destroy all enchantments, destroy all creatures with CMC 3 or less, or 4 or greater, and you can choose 2 of them at any time. So it's modular, it wipes everything pretty much, aside from planeswalkers and lands. Yeah. And it's so fucking good. And you can make it go around your stuff. So, like, if you've got a load of big boys, don't do destroy all creatures with 4 converted mana cost 4 or greater. And just destroy 3 or less and artifacts or something along those lines. It's Austere Command, it's great. Merciless Eviction, exile all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or planeswalkers. I don't need to say anything more than that. A mass exile, Jesus Christ. Then, I'm playing for the Abzan flavour, June Blast. Choose up to 1 creature, destroy the rest. It's always going to be one of yours, and it's always going to be your biggest boy. Or Reyhan. Because you can make Reyhan... Oh boy. You can make Reyhan huge with this. Let me just put it that way. And it's a semi-one-sided board wipe, so I wouldn't complain. And then the very much not semi-one-sided board wipe. In Garrick's Wake. Destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. Very much a one-sided board wipe. And even though it's not rated too highly by some people. I fucking love it. It's 9 mana, but it's worth it for the 9. And that's all the non-land cards of the deck. I'll quickly skim through lands. The ones that actually mean anything are Gavany Township and Khan's Bastion. These pro +1/+1 counters and don't take up a creature slot. And they can tap and do shit like that, it's always nice. Windbrisk Heights and Mosswall Bridge. The hideaway lands that are actually worth a damn in these colours. And the hideaway lands are possibly my favourite cycle of lands ever, because they're just so good. So, you know, there's that. 3 of the bounce lands from Ravnica, because I'm poor, and also they're not bad, to be fair. All the tri-lands in these colours, because again I'm poor, and these things are better than a lot of people take them for, because even though they're tap lands, they're good tap lands. Yet more tap lands in that I have Temple of Silence, Temple of Malady, Temple of Mystery, and Temple of Plenty. So, especially with Ferris Beyond Death coming out and all the ones in M20, these things are getting significantly cheaper, so love that. Continue doing it. I was going to say Konami, fucking playing too much Yu-Gi-Oh! Continue doing that, Wizards. So, yeah, Temples. I love a good scry. Not mid-game, but, you know. If you're going to play budget 4-mana deck, you can take any 2 bloody mana card you can get. 2-colour land, I should say. Then, an odd assortment of shit that I just kind of pulled and had lying around, so I played it. Godless Shrine. Woodland Sanctuary. Prairie Stream. Exotic Orchard. And Command Tower. All things that tap for 2 colours and enter untapped under certain circumstances. Yes. Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse. It's a budget 4-mana deck. 4-colour deck, rather. Yes. And then onto odd assorted shit. Blossoming Sands. Why not? Vivid Grove. Me likey that card. Scattered Groves and Irrigated Farmland. Cycling is never a bad thing. Oran Reef the Vastwood. +1/+1 counters. Hey. Sungrass Prairie. I just realised I should have put that with the other 2-mana, 2-colour things that enter on tap, but fuck it. This is just generic other lands, which are pretty nice. And then basics. 3 forests, plains, a swamp, 2 islands. Yay. So, all in all, that was the deck as a whole, and it is one of my favourites. It's the second deck I ever built, first one being Duretti. I suppose I didn't really build that, I bought it, and I didn't buy it, I got given it and changed it up. But this one has been my project since I started Commander, and I think it's at a point where I can't improve it anymore. Well, I probably could, but I don't really want to. It's perfect for my playgroup, and yeah. So, yeah. This has been the first time I've been doing this in a while. I am surprisingly rusty. Way. And, yeah, so if that is everything, I set myself face down. Ta-ra, guys.